the episode.
Waiz bro, thank you so much for making it. I've been dying to have this conversation অনেক দিন ধরে, and আজকে আমরা ইংলিশ বাংলা অনেক কিছু মিলায় কথা বলবো, and এটা নিয়ে অনেক আমি feedback পাই, but তাও whatever you're comfortable with. Why don't you kick us off with an introduction of yourself?
Sure. So thank you for having me. My name is Waiz Rahim. We've known each other for a long time.
Almost a decade now.
Almost a decade now. I studied in Dhaka. I went for my undergrad in the US. I studied industrial engineering at this school called University of Southern California. So I studied industrial engineering. Oikhane really got into the sort of like the startup ecosystem in LA at that time, 2012 to 2016. Graduated, moved back, started this company called Deligram, e-commerce company. And then most recently, I've started working with this venture fund called Sturgeon Capital. In very short, that's about it. Ex-founder, tried building an e-commerce platform, an omni-channel e-commerce platform, and now looking at the venture side of things, mainly focusing on early stage companies.
You've come full circle, I guess, because for the longest time that I've known you, you've always been up to interesting things. Chotobalaye, when I started following you, but আমি চিনতাম না, মানে personally চিনতাম না, সেই সময় you were really into photography.
Yeah.
And তারপরে you launched this crowdfunding platform.
Yeah, ওটা ভুলেও গেছিলাম.
Project Co.
Yeah.
ওইটা নিয়ে আমি মানে I was following you. It was very exciting. And then when you finished university in the US and came back to Bangladesh, যে একটা startup diba, I tried to follow that from afar as closely as I could, and it was very interesting. Basically, I'm just going to throw you into the deep end. খুবই তাড়াতাড়ি শুরু করে দেব. But the headline that I am purposefully, provocatively making up is you raised $2.5 million. 3.5 years ধরে startup-টা run করেছে, and then it shut down. What happened?
So this is 2016, 2017, right? I come back from university. I just graduated. And there's a lot of factors while I was at university. Like you had mentioned Project.co. Oitar origin was basically back in the US, I was helping a friend launch some Kickstarter campaigns. Why Athletics? So Why Athletics silver-infused activewear apparel that's antimicrobial, anti-odor.
এটা কি বেসিক্যালি একটা মানে
it was a workout shirt. It was a workout active lifestyle apparel focused on men's activewear. And my friend who had founded the company worked on the product development. I was a student তখন, second year of university, and I was into photography, videography. So he basically approached me saying that, hey, I have this idea. I want to make a Kickstarter campaign. Can you help me? তো ওইখান থেকে basically শুরু হয়. So second year of university, just started living in LA. We launched this Kickstarter campaign. I asked some of my friends to help out for like free Chipotle and freebies and t-shirts. We launched that on Kickstarter and it ended up going viral and raised $250,000 in pre-order.
Wow.
Essentially, that was our first working capital to launch the first batch. So prior to launching, we were pretending to be a very large American corporation, talking to manufacturers in Jordan and other places, and সবার তো একটা minimum order quantity থাকে. So minimum order quantity was $100,000, and we didn't have 100,000. So we basically made samples, did the entire crowdfunding campaign, used that $250,000 in cash as working capital to do it. And then we did a campaign every 6 months, every 9 months. So এভাবে করে 3-4 campaign করলাম over 2.5 years. So I really fell in love with the power of crowdfunding. And it was a very different approach to e-commerce. When e-commerce is usual, we kind of know about it, right? You have the Amazon model, you have the eBay model. And so this was very interesting. So তখন I remember 2013, 2015 in মাঝখানে, I thought, oh my God, we just raised like $1.5 million in the US. This is going to change the world in crowdfunding. Bangladesh একটা crowdfunding করতে হবে. So in my sort of young entrepreneurial journey, that was maybe the first mistake that I had a solution in my mind.
But why is it a mistake? It worked.
It worked. We launched. We spent maybe 2.5-3 lakh taka in building the app software. It was completely web-based. তখন ওরকম Bcash payments wasn't really a thing. Online card payments wasn't a thing. And when you speak to creators and makers, everyone will tell you that, funding is the main bottleneck. I have this brilliant idea, funding থাকলে ফাটাই দিতাম. You know? So when I'm speaking to everyone, I'm thinking, wow, if I can solve funding, it really would solve everything, you know? But fast forward like a year later when the platform was built, it's up and running, some people are raising money, I go back to the same people And I realized that funding isn't their bottleneck, they're starting from selling their idea to their actual product prototype. It's just funding is not the bottleneck. Even if they raise 10 lakh taka, 25 lakh taka, 1 crore taka, it's not going to roll off.
It's the execution, operational expertise.
Yeah, all that is. People wait for the funding, thinking funding, actually, I'll start working on the next steps. It doesn't work like that, So, so I had that view into e-commerce, creative e-commerce. And then for my final year, because I was studying industrial and systems engineering, supply chain, I had a chance to work with Amazon on their distribution facility in California. So oikhane I got an insight into just like hardcore logistics fulfillment, and that was very interesting.
So that was an operations role at
That was an operations role, but as a student final year project. So nothing like a full-time job or like a internship really.
But you still got to see the underbelly.
Yeah. We got to go visit the sorting facilities. We had to suggest like changes in their process, which could speed up assortment, increase efficiency. So over there, you're seeing like a combination of completely automated systems with a lot of human intervention. And, you realize, this is happening on the back end. When you order an Amazon Prime delivery for, delivery within 3 hours or next day shipping, what is the infrastructure required on the back end?
How the sausage is made.
Exactly. So crowdfunding plus Amazon. Then when I moved back to Dhaka 2016, again, I was like, nah, e-commerce e kichu korte hobe. E-commerce, what do I know? I sort of understand like the digital marketing side and I understand the fulfillment logistics side. And this was like the heyday when Flipkart was raising billions, Coupang in South Korea was raising billions, everyone was getting acquired for billions. So তখন it really felt like there is an opportunity to Bangladesh because of low internet and e-commerce penetration. There is an opportunity to come out on top as the number one e-commerce platform. And in 2016, our largest competitor was essentially just Daraz, which was still a Rocket Internet company. And any consumer you spoke to back then was extremely unhappy with the customer experience. It's an uncontrolled marketplace model where you have thousands of vendors and quality control, logistics, all that is very hard to provide that customer experience. So I spent a lot of time actually talking in rural Bangladesh. That, okay, if we want to build e-commerce for mass market, just Gulshan Bonani Bari Dharar Jonno, a food panda type of quick commerce service, wasn't too interested in that. I wanted to build something much larger.
And why?
Just because of how our population pyramid is sort of structured, like Amader, because we grow up in these areas, we look at the largest, most successful restaurants and small businesses. But if you look at the largest tech companies in Bangladesh, they were always building an infrastructure level solution for the mass market, whether it's the early days of telcos, Grameenphone, whether it's Bikash. It wasn't serving the person who's going to Laughing Buddha and paying 2,000 taka
so-called
QR code, or going and having Movenpick ice cream and paying using a QR code. The mass consumer is domestic remittance and this connectivity between rural and urban Bangladesh. So common sense use kore mone holo je Dhaka shore you have e-commerce, you have offline options. Dhakar baire these options didn't really exist. So the idea from Deligram sort of came from there, that after studying the market, I realized that e-commerce customers, the companies were losing money on two fronts. Ekta holo the customer acquisition cost that you had to incur, digital marketing and offline marketing kore. The average basket size and margin that the e-commerce, the unit economics didn't make sense on just traditionally Facebook marketing ad spend kore. On the other side, on the fulfillment side, again, if the average cost of doing a delivery is 120 taka, customer is not willing to pay more than 60 taka for delivery. Right. So you have to bleed 40 taka per order on the delivery side. So then I tried looking at Bikash as inspiration. That how can, and in India there was a lot of these models converting mudir dokans into e-commerce.
Right, Kirana stores.
Kirana stores. So then I started really studying this model. I visited a few companies in India as well, and I got started with a pilot.
Okay.
So pilot ta kibhabe korchi? Our idea was that there are three things we want to solve for. Ekta holo je online customer acquisition is expensive and online penetration is really low. So it has to be an offline first customer acquisition. So we set up this first prototype was essentially like a tableter moddhe. We built an offline first app, which was essentially a catalog. A catalog of mudi dokane dekha gelo 500 থেকে 600 টা product say is available. এই catalogের through থেকে you could order another 5,000 products. So these are like a Miyako toaster, a blender, deodorant, mane the long tail of assortment that you won't get in a mudi dokan. And the benefit for the mudir dokan, the shop owner, is that without having money locked up in inventory, this person can upsell products and earn a sales commission.
Right.
So that's what the expected customer journey was.
So আমি জাস্ট রিক্যাপ করি আমার মানে বুঝেছি সেটা কনফার্ম করার জন্য। সো বেসিক্যালি আমি মুদি দোকানে যাব, তার সামনে যে প্রোডাক্টগুলো আছে আমি তো দেখতেই পাচ্ছি, কিন্তু আমি এখন একটা বড় ক্যাটালগ দেখতে পারবো অফ লং টেল আইটেমস, ইলেকট্রনিক্স, বিউটি প্রোডাক্টস সবকিছু, যেগুলো দোকানে নাই কিন্তু সে এনে দিবে থ্রু ইউ গাইজ, এন্ড হি উইল আর্ন আ কমিশন ফর সোর্সিং দিস কাস্টমার. Makes a ton of sense.
So from our perspective, it solves for customer acquisition. You have a hyper local referrer basically, and this person is acquiring customers on your behalf. And on the last mile end, see, back in 2016, 2017, there was Pathao Courier. There was Sundarban Courier, but not really doing last mile delivery. And তখন অত বেশি courier companies ও ছিল না that provided. There was e-courier, but that customer experience was always sort of hampered between the e-commerce platform, the third-party delivery service platform. They're also collecting cash on delivery জন্য. So we had decided আমরা সবকিছু in-house করব. We'll have our own last mile logistics team. We're going to control that customer experience. We're going to guarantee delivery timelines, say 3 hours, naki next day, naki in 3 days. And what we thought was, we wanted to build, Jaman Daraze, you have 2-3 lakh SKUs. We wanted to provide the top 8 to 12,000 SKU of products, provided within 1 to 2 days shipping at good prices, not like ekdom uradhura discount, but bhalo customer experience er jonno people will come to this platform. So that was the initial thesis. And when we started, we actually did a pilot in Kumilla. Because the thought was, je Dhaka eta pilot kore, it's not going to, it was just very a hypothesis approach. That let me form in a hypothesis. If this is true, then some other factors will also be true. Just because something works in Dhaka doesn't mean it'll work in Kumilla, Gazipur, Narayanganj.
But this is basically scientific thinking, right? You try something, have a hypothesis, see if it works, and
So then I'm like, but if it works in Kumilla, it should work in Narayanganj, Gazipur, and it depends, but it should work in Dhaka, you know. So we spoke to Kumilla শহরে যে মেইন ওখানে মার্কেট আছে কান্দিরপাড়, ওখানে একটা দোকান নিলাম ফার্স্টে। তো একদম বেসিক থিঙ্কিং, দোকান নিলাম, দোকানের ভাড়া ওয়াজ মাসে 9,000 টাকা করে। ওইখানে we made a hub. This is our pickup location, একটা সাইনবোর্ড লাগাই, Deligram. Then similarly FMCG company Bikash's মধ্যে we started appointing sales representative, SR. So again, people on cycles who will go from Mudi Dukan to Mudi Dukan, try to convince them to become a Deligram agent.
Right.
Deligram agent, people are familiar with Bikash's agent, Nogoder agent, etc. So actually 2016 Nogod chilo na kina mone nai, but Bikash chilo. We handed out 15 tablets with our app loaded on it, and we did a pilot. And that initial piloter metrics were quite promising. Based on that pilot, we raised our first 500,000 in funding.
Right.
So when I was starting the company, I had actually I had actually assumed that our family business would sort of be the first seed investor, right? So my first approach was, acha fine, এটা শুরু করার জন্য 4 কোটি টাকা লাগবে, which is approximately, তখন back then it was $500,000. এখন it's $400,000 or less. So I made this very elaborate pitch, like 15-20 page investment memo supporting why this makes sense. And I presented it to basically our family board.
And what? So for people not familiar, what is the family business called? And
our family business is Rahim Afroz. So Rahim Afroz, it's a 70-year-old company, and so basically, board kache made a initial pitch that I need $500,000, and after the entire like hour and a half long pitch, everyone smiled and said, "Oh, this looks really good. You have our blessings." No, this is a pitch meeting, like, so then I realized that no, like, of course I have their blessings, but funding wasn't going to come. And frankly, like, say my dad is he was in his late 60s, Akon is in his early 70s. So for them to really understand how venture capital works, how tech startups work, it's not supposed to necessarily make sense.
Right.
So they were like, bhai, this is not part of our domain. We don't understand this well enough to make an investment. Plus, like, financially also the company wasn't in a very solvent situation. So they said that, we'll support you, but better that you go to VCs like Sony Appa, people who understand this ecosystem, and raise money from them. So I said, okay, fine. And coincidentally, next 1-2 weeks, so this is an interesting story about how you can try as much as you want, but unless luck favors you, things are just outside your control. Ekdin office e asi, so somebody walks out, one of my chachas walks out of his office, and I overhear a conversation. And essentially, one of my youngest cousins is about to go for college. UK te jacche, and his parents, or at least his brother, is supposed to go drop him off. So UK visa, for some reason, my cousin got a student visa, but tar sathe je amar other elder cousin ba parent is supposed to accompany, visa ekhono pai nei. Hoyto aro ek shopta lagbe, but his start date is like this week. So I just happened to overhear this, right? And then my chacha asked me, "Tomar visa ase?" Then I office e chilam, I quickly checked my passport and I realized my UK visa 5 বছর একটা নেওয়া ছিল when I was much younger. ওই 5 বছরের visa is going to expire in like a month and a half, or maybe like 2 months. But I had that valid visa. So he asked, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, I mean, nothing that much. So he's like, "You go drop him." So I'm like, sure, if somebody's going to say I'm going to pay for your flight and just go to the UK, drop him off, make sure your cousin's settled in for like 2-3 days and come back. I'm like, sure. I rescheduled everything else. I'm going to. So it was later that night basically. So while I'm at the airport, office, tokhon we'd already started like Deligram, early stage, but we had not raised our seed funding. So I told one of my colleagues that, hey, I'm going to be out of office for 3 days. This is from the airport. And he says, "Oh, are you going to the Bangladesh Investment Summit in London?" I'm like, nah. He's like, "Hey, that's day after tomorrow." So I'm like, "Oh, really?" So lounge boshe, I looked up that, oh, what is this Bangladesh? Sounds pretty exciting. I'm looking to raise money for Bangladesh startup actor. So kind of lounge boshe, I realized, oh, I know one of the organizers. So সাথে lounge, I almost myself invited myself, saying that, oh, hi, I'll be in London coincidentally during this time. Would love to drop by. Look forward to seeing you. বেশরম ভাবে নিজেকে self invite করে, didn't really give that much of a scope for that person to say that actually we're sold out, invite only, So I went to drop off my cousin in Sheffield University. And I went there thinking just 3 din asi. So I just had casuals. I had jeans, I had a t-shirt, I had sneakers. So thankfully, you could still wear jeans. I had a shirt, but I can't wear my sneakers to an investment conference. So literally, the evening I got there, Sheffield town center থেকে একটা জুতা কিনতে হয়েছে আমাকে। So একটা formal shoe কিনে, I got onto the metro, the tube or the rail system the next morning at like 6 a.m. So I could, Sheffield থেকে London, I can be there by 8:30 a.m.
So আসলে ছিলাম না লন্ডনে, শেফিল্ডে
ছিলাম। শেফিল্ডে গিয়ে ওইখানে আসলে আমার মানে যে কাজ জন্য আসলে গেছিলাম আমার কাজিনকে ওখানে মেকিং শিওর that he's checked into his dorm and everything সবকিছু করে I got on a train and went back to London. So why I'm saying this entire story is because I was trying to raise $500,000 seed funding, but if I had not gone to that event, I know event is sure I met like a lot